Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Mike Shea, and
It's alright.
we are UTD Comets, and this is our submission for Hack U of H Artemis, Code Red Artemis. So we're students at the University of Texas at Dallas. Go Comets, whoosh! And our project is called Prejudice Detection with Natural Language Processing. So we have our problem that we want to solve is detecting racism to protect minorities, specifically Chinese. We've noticed that there has been an increase in racism against Chinese during the pandemic. So we wanted to detect racism to protect minorities, specifically Chinese. And we also wanted to detect sexism to protect genders that are discriminated against. And so our project uses natural language processing to detect racism and sexism in text. It uses the raw input from the user and gives an overall analysis of how racist or sexist the text is, and uses the same raw text and splits it into individual sentences so that it can give a sentence analysis for how racist and sexist the sentences in the text is for each sentence. And then it finally visualizes the data of the individual sentences to show how the text has racism and sexism sections through its peaks. It uses the visualizations, and our project uses a line graph. Frameworks and languages and libraries. We used a few. We used Flask as our front end micro framework, HTML for the web page of the project, Python for the backend, Pandas for the data manipulation, scikit-learn for the machine learning, and Matplotlib for the data visualization. What's next after our project? We're thinking of adding more data for racism and sexism, more labels and classifications for models, and certain texts we can analyze in the future could be homophobia. We would like to analyze text to detect homophobia in the future. And so now we can work on our demo. Our project is open on the internet. It's racism-sexism-good-classifier.heroku app. It is being hosted on Heroku, and you can see here this is our website. So in here, this is our prejudice detection with natural language processing, and over here in this text field is where the user can input text for the data to detect the model to detect that the text is overall racist or sexist. And so let's put some sample inputs in here. So this right here is some sexist stuff that we have found on Twitter, and when we hit submit, it should tell us that what was in the text is sexism, and you can see here it has a very high score of sexism, and you can see that all the sentence that we put in was sexist, and gives an individual sexism score for each sentence. As you can see here, we put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 sentences, and over here is the timeline of sentences mapped to scores. In this graph, each sentence is mapped to a sexism score. You can see here how it slowly goes up and stuff. So that's sexism. We can also put in presidential speeches like the Gettysburg Address uh, by Abraham Lincoln to detect if it's sexist or racist or not, and it should give us a good overall neutral score saying non-racist, non-sexist because um, there's nothing really racist or sexist in the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln. There are in the individual sentence analysis is saying that it detected some sexism, but don't worry about that. We need more data to refine our model. And as you can see here, the racism is very low. No real racism until the end, the last sentence. Don't worry about that. The sexism score it goes down as you progress through the text. Doesn't really tell you much since we only have 10 sentences. And let's look at bigger a bigger speech. This is a quite a problematic speech because when we put it into the text field and submit it, it's a very long speech, so it takes a while for it to give us an answer of if it's racist or sexist. And once it's finished, it determined that it is very racist. So you can see here there are splotches of green and then splotches of red. Um, and some sentences are racist, some are sexist, and some are just not either. The racist and the sexist sentences are marked as red. The green ones are marked as the non-sexist, non-racist ones are marked as green. So red is like bad, green is good, and it's clearly marked for the final classification. And you can see here in our data visualizations, there are peaks and there are troughs. The peaks are when the racism or sexism or whatever ramps up. And the troughs are when it sort of like dies down. And you can see here the same thing for the sexism. And here is the same thing for the neutral, the non-racist, non-sexism scores. All right, so let's look at other stuff like the racist uh, racist sentences, and it should give us a high racism score, and it did. Quite expected. There's sometimes it's sometimes unable to detect non-sexist, non-racist stuff. That's because we just don't have enough data to throw at it, and also, yeah, that's basically it. Sometimes you just don't have enough data to refine our model. Uh, yeah. Any questions? Just post them down in the comments and make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.